Investigative reporters often generate shock waves worldwide for their reporting as media houses and independent journalists invest more money into in-depth reporting. VOA's Paul Ndiho recently sat down with Anas Aremeyaw Anas, a Ghanaian investigative journalist in an undisclosed location whose works have exposed various individuals and organizations engaged in crime, corruption, and human rights abuse. He talks about the challenges he faces.
My name is Anas Aremeyaw Anas. I'm an undercover journalist from Ghana.
What are some of the obstacles you've encountered in doing your job, especially here in Ghana and maybe across Africa? Because you've gone to the length of doing a lot of undercover stuff in Africa.
Key problems that journalists across the continent face will be, first and foremost, the enabling environment to be able to be productive as a journalist. We have political pressures, business pressures. Of course, you can't also forget the fact that journalists are poorly paid. And all this culminates in the fact that the journalist becomes an endangered species, so that we get attacked, we get killed every day.
Is investigative journalism effective, especially in the light of like what's happening on the continent?
Clearly, yes, it is effective. When you look at the story I just broke on the football scandal,
that was good,
which affected the World Cup. When you look at the number of referees that the story affected, and also the death angles where people go in stadiums and they end up attacking referees and there's a stampede and people die and all that. It tells you that investigative journalism really shines light on issues that affect us. You take a look at the judges scandal, where people who were supposed to be gods in the guise of men, who were supposed to adjudicate over taking bribes and all that. It tells you that indeed, if we don't push the frontiers of investigative journalism on the continent, then we aren't doing anything at all.
In the Eyes of God, the documentary that you did, what was it like to film it? And were you threatened by doing that kind of job?
This is not unique to me as a journalist. There are many African journalists who have died. Talk of Nobel Zongo, Delejiwa, and all of them. So
and
I'm
one
not
of your
the
colleagues.
first. Yes, and Ahmed Swali. I'm not the first to complain of threats. So indeed, all these stories come with various levels of threats. And for me, in the years of work, you get threatened, and that tells you the effect of the work you're doing. If you do a story and you don't get this threat coming, it means perhaps you are not hitting on the right nerve. So it is a daily phenomenon. It occurs not only to me, but many other African journalists. Back to the judges scandal. Of course, you were talking about the lives of very senior people in the judicial hierarchy. We were talking about 34 judges, and we talk about over 140 judicial staff. It was a total overhaul of the judicial system. So indeed, the level of threat was there. But threats only don't come in physical attack. For example, I had over 64 legal suits on the judges scandal. In the football scandal, I've had over 50 court suits. But once you stick by the rules of the game, clearly there is nothing that is going to push you back. Despite the physical threats, despite the legal threats and all that, if you stick by the truth, it will be difficult for people to bring you down.
Do you think investigative journalism is overlooked? For example, a person like you go the extra mile to bring us these stories. When you look at, like, let's say, for example, the Western world, investigative reporting really is the key. But here, do you think we have that kind of environment where reporters like you are doing what they should be doing? Do you have the support system?
See, I've always argued that journalism is about our people. Journalism is about our community. Nobody can tell the story of our villages better than us African journalists.
I agree.
We are the ones who can tell the stories. And the three main principles that my journalism hangs on is naming, shaming, and jailing. I collect hardcore evidence, go and stand in the court of law and testify and make sure that the bad guys go to jail. Chinese sex mafia, they are in jail for 45 years. Nana Kwesi Agyemang, a man who raped girls as young as 3, is in jail for 10 years. The cocoa smuggling story, they are in jail for 15 years.
How would you respond to people who say that every day you put your life in danger?
Non-response as a journalist leads to deaths. That's what it is. That's the reality. It would always be the hazards of the profession. Journalism would always remain a hot kitchen. If you don't have the energy, you get out.
What keeps you going?
When that old woman, I see that big smile on the face of that old woman who tells me that because of that story, those children's lives have been saved. Who tells me because of that good story you did, I now have good drinking water. Who tells me that because of the story you did, I have access to good health. Because of the stories you did, the politician who stole our money is in jail. That gives me a big smile. My stories impact real lives, and it has had significant impact on the populace. And it has contributed to strengthening the democracy we have here in Ghana and Africa as a whole. And that gives me some joy.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, a pleasure meeting you, and thank you so much for honoring our request.
Thank you.
That was VOA